Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest Cailen Fu. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, growing up, she's participated in many theater shows both in school and regionally, some of which include Thoroughly Modern Millie, Into the Woods, Carousel, Parade, Avenue Q, Mamma Mia, and more. She was recently cast in Mean Girls on Broadway, where she's a standby for both Gretchen and Regina. Please welcome Cailen Fu.
I'm excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. So, yeah. I mean, how has this time been for you? Because it's kind of been crazy, and obviously Broadway and theater is on a little hiatus besides virtual theater. So
yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. I've been doing a lot of voiceover. I've been cooking. I've been baking. I've gone through depression spells where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then I've gone through moments of oh my gosh, this is great. I'm getting to learn about myself and I'm chilling and life is I'm learning about patience. I think the ups and downs have been crazy, but they've been great, So yeah.
Yeah, we're all kind of learning how to adjust.
Absolutely. Yes.
What kind of voiceover work do you do before I get into theater?
Yeah. So I do, honestly, kind of a range. I've done a lot of commercial kinds of voiceover. So Geico and Subway, I've done a lot of those. It was actually very lucky. My agency, when I first signed with them in 2018, they brought me into the voiceover team's office and we just had, a really, really great chat. And we just talked about, me and life and all these things. And so, and they're wow, your personality just jumps off the page. And I was you'd be great at that. And I was okay, great, cool. And so I've done a lot of, I've done countless auditions for playing kids, the amount of 8-year-olds or 12-year-olds or teeny boppers I go in for. It's kind of insane. So I do a lot of that, but I've also been working on, I've done a lot of podcast interviews where I've done voiceover stuff with them. But I've been working on this one new project called 1 Million Musicals. And it's so fun. It's been really, really cool. Because there's not really a podcast out there that's similar to it. There are, I guess, podcasts that are similar, they're about theater and they are producing it's music or it's storytelling, but we are producing brand new musicals every month. So they're usually around 30 to 45 minutes, depending on, we just released our Christmas episode yesterday. And it's called The South Pole Santa Claus. And it's so fun. So I've got I'm technically I'm an actor in the team, but I'm also part of their marketing team, which is something I really like doing. I like learning about the social media algorithms and learning how to how do you market so you could actually find your target audience and reach the people who you want to you want them to be part of your audience. You want them to be part of the fan base of the show. But that's been super fun. So I've gotten to do we've done 3 episodes and I've been in all 3 of them. I'm taking a break for the 4th one, but we have really big Broadway names in it, and it's really fun.
Epic.
So it's we have a lot. We always joke around about it because it was started by my friend Jacob Ben Shmuel and Alan Blake Batchelor. I went to school with them at UCI, but so Jacob was in the national tour of Book of Mormon, and obviously I am/was/will be, who knows, when Peter comes back,
yeah.
Still be in the cast of Mean Girls, but they're both Casey Nicholaus shows. And so we always joke around about how it's it's basically just all of Casey Nicholaus kids and we're just putting together this podcast and it's 3 Mormons and a mean girl.
Love that.
So yeah, but it's a lot of Book of Mormon. We have the longest running Christine from Phantom in it. And her husband is and they're both in our most recent episode. We have, we just have a really, really cool group of people who've been part of it and who we've been able to be hey, do you want to just sing a song for us?
Yeah.
And they're yeah, sure. Why not? But it's been so cool. The shows themselves, I think they're a crossover from like Book of Mormon. Obviously, if you've seen it, I think like Jacob's humor and Alan's humor very much fits in with that. But like South Park makes sense. Like, but also there is a like for all ages aspect of it because it's for everyone.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's been so fun and it's really good. Like obviously it's like I'm part of the team, so I feel like there's like an obligation of like, oh, like, well, it's like really good. You should listen to it.
But I believe it.
But it's like, it really is like this one song I sang, it's called like Special Unicorn Deluxe. I can't remember the full title. I think that might be it. But it's like this crazy song that like, I'm just like squelching in. And I play an 8-year-old named Patience Lee. And, it's so funny because I'm like, oh my gosh, I was singing it and I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to sing Regina again. Like, ow, like it's been so long. But it's like some of the songs I'm like, oh my gosh, like someone could 100% take this and like put it in their book for auditions, like doing it for spelling bee, doing it for like anything. Yeah, it would like those kind of shows. I think the music is easily transferable to audition world. And yeah. So that's what I've been up to.
I've been saying that like the determination of people in theater during this time and actors and actresses and people behind the scenes to find something to do that's theater related but is virtual during this time has been like the creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I think like theater artists, like the majority of us, probably all of us, were very resilient, and
yep.
Especially those who are going to stay in the industry and the people who are leaving as well. Like, I mean, everyone is doing their best, and I don't know. I think something I've learned about the pandemic and learned during the pandemic, I should say, is that I really feel like it is shining a light on everyone's own individual path to whatever they want to do, and it's kind of that like. I mean, it's that opportunity of saying like, hey, like, do I really want to stay and do this? Like, is this what I want to do? And completely like, and it's like, I think it, in a lot of ways, because everything's paused, we've all been given that opportunity of like, if you don't want to do this, like, you don't need to. Like you're not going to be shunned. You're not going to be made fun of or like poked at because you're like, oh, you gave up on your theater dream. It's like, no, like, I'm going to do what's best for me. And like what I've learned during this like very long pause is like, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It just matters what you want to do, because at the end of the day, it's like, you can only provide your own happiness. Like nothing else outside of you will. So
yes, what you enjoy is important. And speaking of which, so you're an actress in Mean Girls right now. Well, yeah. I mean, pre the pause.
Now, quote, yeah.
And post the pause. So have you always known and always enjoyed theater and wanted to be a performer on stage?
Yeah. So I was very lucky that my parents randomly threw me in a performing arts K-8 school when I was 4. So, you know, like I really didn't have like much of a choice when you're 4 years old. You don't have a lot of options there. There's no negotiating when you're 4. Yeah. And so my parents like tossed me in this like performing arts school. And I think part of it is because my community itself was a very creative community. The people I grew up around were very artsy and well-rounded. And so I think my parents wanted me to have that kind of experience. And so, I mean, I tried sports. I tried soccer, softball, tennis, basketball. I'm not tall enough for basketball. I'm like not quick enough for tennis or soccer. And I just found, so we were able to take dance classes in this like K-8 art school instead of taking PE, which was like, oh my gosh, like it like saved my life because I get really bad shin splints when I run. I feel like I don't know how to properly run. Maybe I'm like doing something wrong, but I got really bad shin splints during PE, like in elementary school, like when you had to do like the elementary PE, you know, where they're just like run.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm wearing sandals. Like,
you didn't bring the right running shoes today.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we were able to take dance classes instead of it and like substitute it. And all we had to do was run the mile. And that like completed our like physical activity requirement. And I just discovered that I had way more coordination in dance class than I did in the sports world. I mean, I loved playing, like playing with like, I don't know, basketballs and doing like fun things where like there was no actual like I didn't have to accomplish anything. It was just for fun. I loved doing that, but I was like, I can't take it seriously. Like if I'm the reason why we lost the game, like I can't do that. But I mean, I grew up like I remember I was in 4th grade. I still can't tell you why. This is the moment I remember thinking like, oh, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. Or at least like I would like to spend my time doing this. I was in 4th grade and I was watching the middle school production. So this is the 6th through 8th graders putting on a production of The Secret Garden, which is like so random. Like it's not even like the style of show that I really love to listen to now. But I just remember being a little kid and being like, that is so cool. Like I want to do that. Cause like that looks like a lot of fun. And so I just kept getting involved and I was constantly around the arts because of the school I was in. So like very much like it was a very privileged like childhood in that sense. And then I went to a performing arts high school that was also in my town, which was like really fun. And like I tell a story sometimes where I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, and there was a huge poster of this woman in our choir room, like gigantic, like taking up maybe 2/3 of the wall, like huge. And I was like, I don't know who this lady is. It didn't have her name on it either. Like, so like I couldn't even do like a name recognition thing, but like I saw it every day in choir. We had like show choir and I saw it and I was like, who is this lady? And I don't think I ever asked anyone about it, but then we were doing Fairly Modern Millie or we were doing some show and I had to look this person up. And I realized, and like, as soon as I started to learn more about musical theater history, I was like, wow, I'm such a dum-dum. Like that woman on the wall is Audra McDonald. And I'm like, what? And so like soon I became super obsessed with just like her and her work and just like the career she had created and like the level at which she like performs at like at all times. Like she's just so amazing. And I like realized, I was like, why is her picture on our wall? And I was like, oh my gosh, like so she actually went to my high school. And she also went to the performing arts K-8 school I went to. And I didn't know this at all. And like, but I remember thinking, like, I remember seeing that and thinking, oh my gosh, well, she is here and she made it. She'd won 6 Tonys. I think at this time, yeah, I think she'd won 6 Tonys by this time. But I remember just thinking like, well, she can do it. I can do it. Like she graduated from here. And like, I'm like, and at the time I was like, well, I don't know where she went, but like, I can do it too. And I think just like, not saying like the alumni of your schools are like the reason why like you can or can't do something, but it plants that seed in your head of like, oh, maybe I could. Like it's a possibility because someone else has done it. So, I mean, when I think I had decided by the time I was in 8th grade that I was for sure going to be an actor. So before I even went to high school and found all this out, I think I just loved it so much and there wasn't anything else that interested me. Like, I was a fine student. Like I got my straight A's like I needed to like, cause like we had a thing in high school where it was like, if you were below a certain GPA, you couldn't take your arts classes anymore. So you had to be at a certain GPA, to like maintain your, technically what they called your elective classes, but they were like the whole reason why the art students were there. So like everyone was like, great, I'm going to get like my straight A's. So yeah, I think I just decided that, and I don't know, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. The only thing I've ever thought of doing, was possibly going into law. For a while in college. I was a poli-sci minor.
Oh my goodness.
and I think honestly it's because, but the reason why this looks so unrealistic. I think the reason why I liked it is because I've watched a lot of Law and Order SVU growing up. Like anytime I was sick, I was watching Law and Order SVU. And I think what I loved about it was that even though like they're not really like the show isn't focused around lawyers, like I was very much interested in like maybe becoming a lawyer. But the idea of like you're performing for a jury, you were telling a story and trying to convince everyone to be on your side. And so it was like, in some ways it was still an acting world. Like it was just a different, like literally different industry. But I think what drew me to law was because of that. I was like, because I still get to be like trying to convince people and like telling them a story and like, you know, like still using the tactics that actors use to create these characters and like tell those stories. So realistically, it was not necessarily, I was not drawn for the right reasons that would probably keep me there for the amount of work that it takes, like paperwork wise. But I just never saw myself doing anything else. And so far I'm sticking to that. And yeah.
Wait, so are you from the Fresno area? Because Audra McDonald.
I am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was gonna say I went to see Wicked in Fresno.
Oh, fun at the Soroyan. Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Studio City, but I went on a road trip with my friend to see Wicked in Fresno, and they have a street named after Audra McDonald, and I was like, oh,
yep,
legend.
Yeah. It was cool. You know what's even funnier is so after I learned about her, we have a Audra McDonald Award at Roosevelt High School, Roosevelt School of the Arts is where I went. And I won it my senior year. Me and my friend Melody, we both won the award. And so I have this Audra McDonald Award in my parents' house. And what's hilarious is that, and I really can't tell you how we got to this point. But so my dad is a very spiritual man. Like he loves yoga. He loves getting together with groups of his friends and just talking about philosophy and like spiritual things and talk about life. Like both my parents are therapists, like very like talkative humans. So one afternoon when I was still in high school, a woman walked into our house and my dad had these like spiritual Saturdays, like every Saturday. It wasn't until a little later into my life he like stopped having them as much. But he had these like spiritual Saturdays where everyone drank tea and like they sat in our dining room and like had like hors d'oeuvres and just like not even hors d'oeuvres, like crackers and cheese that we bought from like the grocery store, and everyone brought their own drink or something, like a nice brunch moment, you know. And this woman walked in and I remember coming down the hall and being like, who is that woman? And she looked exactly like Audra McDonald, like identical. And I was like, is Audra McDonald in my house? Like, oh my gosh. And I didn't know what to do. And so eventually I kind of grabbed my dad. I was like, who is that woman? And I don't remember her name right now, but we basically were talking and she ended up seeing, because I'm an only child. So my parents have a really embarrassing like shrine of like me as a baby and like, you know, like as parents do. Yeah. And this woman saw my little plaque award that said the Audra McDonald Award to me and like awarded to me. And she saw it on the wall. She's like, oh my gosh, like that's my niece. And it was her freaking aunt.
Oh my goodness.
It was in my house. And so she sent a photo to Audra. And so Audra has a photo of my award that I won in high school, probably somewhere on her computer or on her phone. I don't know.
On her phone history somewhere.
But like, yeah, she's like, just iconic. So it was a really scary, cool moment because I was like, oh my God, Audra McDonald in my house for my dad's spiritual Saturday. Like, what?
What is happening?
Yeah.
Well, you weren't going crazy. It was someone who was related to her. So
it was. And they look very similar. If you ever see photos of them, like they look very, very similar. So
I would have a heart attack. I watched the Disney Annie too many times to count as a kid.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was my poor parents had to listen to me like singing and dancing to that. So You're never fully dressed without a smile.
There we go.
The best. So you went to UC Irvine. What was the most valuable lesson you learned in school there? And why did you choose to go there?
Yeah. I think the most valuable thing that I learned there was to be a human first, artist second. That is something I think that is a huge draw to the program. And you don't always see it right away if you don't know anything about the program, but the professors there, I think, really teach you that it's not important to be exactly like the people around you. Like I guess like the idea of like, you don't need to be a cookie cutter performer. You don't need to be a carbon copy of whoever's the most successful on Broadway right now, because you will never you will be nothing but disappointed because you will never get to that point. You will never get to be someone else. Like, you can only be you. And so why not train yourself to embrace everything you have to offer? Like, obviously that comes with the idea of find what you're really good at and what you are kind of bad at, and figure out how can you improve what you naturally have, and how can you enhance all of the skill sets that you have in your toolbox, like to the nth degree, you know, like, but I think the thing that I really liked about the program that I didn't realize I liked about the program until about maybe my sophomore year, was that part of it of like, they can't give you a whole set of tools. Like, they can, but like, they can't give you a whole like new toolbox and be like, hi, this is the performer you're going to be now. So like, you're not a soprano. Well, you need to be a legit soprano, or else you're never going to work. Like, that's not what they do. They work from the inside out. And I think that's something that was really important, and what I think both the BFA and like the undergrad programs and the MFA program does really well. They really work from the inside out. And of course, there are things like the idea of, unfortunately, it's like what you look like. Like, maybe make sure, like, I don't know, that you don't have a unibrow. Like, if you don't want to be like serving those looks, if that's not the vibe you're going for, like, I don't know. It's like, you know, the outside part, the shell that we show the world is important, you know, especially in the theater world. Like, that's like, I mean, casting directors, they look at a headshot. Like, they're like, you can get typed out of roles because your headshot does not look like how they see the role. And so it's like, there are important aspects of the outside shell of you. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you can't find it within yourself to, I guess, completely become a character without putting something on, I think it's a lot harder to be authentic that way. If you're like, I'm just going to put on like it's like a new phone case. Like, when I need to be this character, I have this phone case. I'm like, no, or it's like, or I can like come from a different part of myself to see through that character's eyes. And I think that's the biggest thing the best thing I learned at UC Irvine. I actually did, it wasn't like one of my like top schools I wanted to go to. My dream school was Carnegie Mellon. I really, really wanted to go there. I was obsessed with it. My mentor had gone there. And I was devastated when I wasn't accepted. And it was just a really strange thing. I think I applied to 5 or 4. Was it 4? It was NYU, Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon.
Hey, close.
Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon, NYU, Ithaca, Syracuse. Where else did I apply? There's another one. I can't remember, but UC Irvine I was from California, so I knew that I could get, like, it was close enough, but it was far enough away from home, but like I couldn't just go home on a weekend. Like, it was a little far, and I could kind of just become my own independent person. And I've always been that way. I've never been a crazy dependent person. Like, I really like having my time to myself, and like, I don't know, I like my me time.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to UC Irvine in my first quarter. So they do school in quarters. And I think the first 2 quarters, I really didn't like it. I was like, I don't think I like this. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's not the BFA program that I wanted it to be. And that really drew me to some of these other schools. And eventually I kind of learned that the school, it was like an inside out version of what you would expect from a regular BFA program. And what I really liked about it was the fact that you really got to like carve your own path. which I think as an adult and as a college student, I should say a newly like turned 18 adult, not having something to follow sometimes I think is a little scary, to actually have to carve your path earlier without any hand-holding.
It's freaky.
It's freaky. And people, I mean, like,
no.
And I mean, the amount of times that people are constantly just like questioning themselves about what they want to do, if they want to be here, or like if they chose the right song, or like if they're on the right path. I think it's really hard to be given kind of like the keys to your gate and be like, okay, like you can go now. Like you can go wherever you want. You don't have to take all these musical theater classes. You can take blah, 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 blah.
Like, no, you're only 18.
Yeah. Whereas like in a lot of other programs, and for a good reason, like they're just different structures. There's a reason why you, like, when you're in a more conservatory style school, you have like, they're not, and I don't want to use the cookie cutter as like a bad term, but like a cookie cutter, like this is what you do your freshman year. This is what you do your sophomore year. This is how you get to your junior year. And it's like the idea of like building blocks, which I think is super, super effective, but maybe not for all students. You know, like you won't know until you go there and actually try it, unfortunately. At least that's what I think. But yeah, originally I didn't really like it. And then I started to realize kind of towards the end of my freshman year, beginning of my sophomore year, maybe, that I really liked that no one could really tell me what to take. I knew the order in which like I had to take classes to get into certain classes, but I didn't have a timeline on it. And like, if I wanted to go take a stagecraft class, I could. And it still would get me towards my theater degree. So like in a lot of ways, it really allowed you to explore how to be more than just a singer or a dancer or an actor. You really learned about the building of a production. You learned how to be a well-rounded artist. And I think that's something that I really liked once I realized what I was going to get out of going to UC Irvine. Unfortunately, I was like already there. So like, this is what I'm doing. But I really like, you know, it's like you make the most of your situation and you go, wait, this is great. I think like this is going to work out.
Like I'm meant to be here kind of.
Yeah.
Feeling like
and sometimes it takes a second to realize, you know, to find your footing. And I'm really glad that I stuck it out, because there was a moment where I was going to transfer. I remember talking to some professors who like I had like mutual friends with from summer programs I had done. And they're like, just stick it out a little longer and wait till like your actual like transfer year. If you hate it by then, like, then we'll transfer you. But I'm really glad I stuck it out, and I'm really proud of the education I got and the tools I gained by going there.
And I was going to say also, some student now could be like walking the halls and see that like, or looking up alumni from the school and be like, oh, well, she made it to Broadway. She's on Broadway. I could do it too. And it becomes more realistic for them at the school to see that someone from the alumni program is on Broadway now.
Yeah. And I think, and what's cool about it too, I mean, I've like a big reason why. So like during the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of teaching as well. And what I found like my niche is that I recently graduated, which is crazy to me to think about. Like I'm technically coming up on 3 years recently graduated, which is very strange to feel. You're like, oh my gosh, I graduated like last year. But it's been really cool because I've been able to kind of say, hey, I know exactly what you were thinking your senior year. Like, I know exactly the feelings you're feeling. Like, I still remember them like it was yesterday. And like, these are some steps that I know I can get. These are some tools I can give you to help cope and figure out and like dissect how to approach like leaving college and getting into the real world, and how to not, I guess, have too high of expectations or too low of expectations, so that you can actually not worry or stress too much about like all of the new adult things you have to figure out, but you can really hone in your energy and your focus on the things that matter to you, like your career or your friends, your family. Like I've had a really good experience over these last however many months, talking to a lot of like soon to be grads. So yeah, I think it's an interesting and very, I think, unique perspective we have for just a short amount of time, because it's like soon enough you'd be like, oh my gosh, I graduated like 10 years ago. Like, I don't know. Like,
right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Time flies and you're like, wait, is it really 2020 right now? It's not like 2013, 2012, like what year is it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it sounds like your school really prepared you for Mean Girls, and you're understudying 2 roles. Are you understudying or standby for the roles?
I'm standby. Yeah.
Okay, so you're standby for 2 roles. Like, that's insane to me. And there are 2 main roles. So you're memorizing both those roles. What was your audition process like for Mean Girls? And did you know going in that you were going to be auditioning for the standby to cover 2 roles?
So originally I was only ever looked at for Gretchen. I was never seen for Regina. I never went in for her until like my final audition, when it was announced that Ashley Della Rose was leaving. And they emailed my agents and said, hey, would she be interested in like sending us some stuff on tape for Regina to cover both roles? So I was never like really even looked at for the standby. That was never the intention. I never went in for it early on. And so I originally went in, it's kind of a long story, but I originally went in for Ashley Park's replacement back in December 2018. So right when she announced that she was leaving, I went in and I got down to the final 4, and it was really crazy because I didn't realize how close I was to it. I had no idea that I was like I had an idea that I was in the finals, but I didn't realize leading up to it how close I was getting until I was literally there. And we had gone from like 20 girls the day before to 4 of us. And it was just like, it was me, it was Christina, it was Megan, and there was another girl, Ellie. And it was just crazy. It was insane, because then I was like, oh my God, I don't know who any of these people are. And I guess I have a shot on Broadway. So it was a very weird time. But so I auditioned for Ashley Park's replacement December 2018 through January 2019. And then I auditioned again for Gretchen on the tour. And I believe it went down between Megan and I. And so it was just between the 2 of us. And what's crazy is like, I remember sitting there and like her and I were chatting. That's when I met Mariah. I also met Renee during that audition period. Renee and I we took the elevator down together. It was very I remember us talking about I hope we hear something soon. Like, I've been auditioning for this since 2018. And Mariah and I had a bunch of mutual friends because we're both California people. And so it was just crazy. And so then I was on contract when I flew in for the tour audition, because I was on contract in Nashville. And so when I finally got that I remember I had been auditioning at that point for a handful of months for Mean Girls. And I had been auditioning for Casey Nicholaus shows since my sophomore year of college.
Wow.
So I had been I think in the radar of that world for a hot moment, because I'd been going in for Aladdin a lot. So I went in for the tour and for Broadway when I was in college. And so when I got that when I didn't get the tour, I remember being kind of disappointed, because I knew Broadway was a way bigger jump for me. And I think I think I have a little bit of a marketing brain where I was thinking okay, everyone else in the room who got to the final 4 for Ashley Park's replacement all had bigger credits than I had. I was fresh out of school. I was still non-ec. I was the only person under 25. I was their random pick of people.
You were still non-ec and you got that far? I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And granted, I have some really fantastic agents who truly shove me in every room that they possibly can. And I really, really love them for that. And so it's kind of it's very much once you're in the audition auditioning world for like Telsey and Tara Rubin and a lot of those casting agencies, if they have other shows that they're casting, like I was, because the reason why I got seen for Mean Girls was because I was also being seen for Hamilton. So I was in auditions for Eliza for a while, and that casting director also cast Mean Girls. So I spent a lot of time with her for like weeks and weeks and weeks in a row. But when I got the tour announcement, they were like, okay, like it's not going to be you. Like they really love you, but like it's not this time. They know you fit in the world. Like they absolutely want you to be in the show. They just don't know where to put you right now. And I remember being really disappointed because I was like, oh my gosh, like I knew Broadway was a stretch, but like I can do tour. Like I can do the tour. But what's kind of been really cool is I've seen, so now obviously it's like I've seen everyone's version of Gretchen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're all so different. Like we're so different in our, like I guess our views of Gretchen and how we interpret everything she does. And so I think what brings me a lot of comfort, and at the time I wish I had had this insight, but you really think about like they chose like for the tour Megan, they chose Megan for the tour because she fit the tour, and her version and my version, like we're not worse or better than each other. Like we're just different. We're different interpretations. And what I find very comforting, and I hope other actors and other performers who get down on themselves about like getting really far and not getting it, it's like, just know that you're probably not going in and doing the same thing. You're probably going and doing most likely completely different things. Or even if you're doing a similar action or a version of the song, you're belting in the same place, or you're mixing in different places, like whatever. You're different people, and sometimes it's like time and place. And I think that's kind of what happened with me going in for the standby, because I was like I wasn't like done with Mean Girls. I like still loved it, but I was like, I don't really know. Like Christina just got Gretchen on Broadway. That's going to be a year contract. Tour's going to be a year contract. I don't know where I fit otherwise, like because they weren't seeing me for anyone else. And so I basically was on another contract. I was in Utah, and then they emailed me. It was July 15th, 17th. Oh my gosh, I'm like, it's already leaving my brain.
Yeah,
it was like July 15th or 17th. I really can't remember right now. But they emailed me and said, hey, can you put this on tape for Regina? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I literally just like threw on some clothes. I grabbed my friend who was one of the pianists on our contract, who was performing with us. And I think we played through each of the songs like a couple of times. It was Someone Gets Hurt and World Burn, like sections of them. And I literally like threw this tape together. Like, and luckily we had a great like space that we could record. And then like 2 days later, it was a Tuesday, 2 days later, I got the call being like, hey, you're going to Broadway. And like everyone approved it, and they're really excited for you to join the team. So it worked out. Yeah.
It worked out. And if you had gotten the tour, then you wouldn't be playing both characters. You wouldn't get the chance to show people your Regina too.
Yeah. And I think like I find her so fun. Like I love playing Regina because she's so different, and she just has a different energy than anyone else I've ever played. And it always makes me laugh because like I'm obviously a very different choice for Regina, and it makes me laugh because I think like there are definitely fans out there who are true, like they know who Regina is at the core, and they're like Regina stands, and I'm like, I love you guys, and I'm like, I'm gonna be a different Regina, and like I'm sorry if you like paid to see someone else, but like you're gonna see my Regina. So but yeah, I think it's cool. Like I love getting to play her. She's really, really fun. And yeah, I'm really glad I got the chance to. So yeah, if I had booked Christina's role or Megan's, like, yeah, wouldn't be there.
Yeah, you wouldn't be getting to play the role. So how do you think you said you play Regina differently than other people. How do you think you play Regina differently than other people? Because I saw a comment, I was doing research and I saw a comment on YouTube that said that someone said they loved your acting choices best out of any Regina.
That's sweet.
So
I think so. I feel like I had a very fortunate experience when I came in to the building because the show had been running, so it was like very much a well-oiled machine. But I got to join towards the end of Taylor Louderman's time with Mean Girls. And so I got to learn, like, so when you first start, like, you're basically watching the show. I mean, you still are when you're not even learning the part. You're watching the show every single night. And so I feel really lucky that I actually got to learn a lot of the show from Taylor, which I found to be super, super beneficial, because it's like she originated every single sprinkle of what that character was, like what that character is, and who Regina is, and like why Regina says and sings and does the things that she does. So I was like, that is so cool. So I got to learn from her, and I got to learn from her at a very, I think, special time, because it was like her on her way out. And I think when that happens, there's less reservations about, I think like it's like they have nothing to lose of like, this is what I do, this is how I feel, this is like why I do the things I do, why I built it this way. I think there's less reservation about like they're about to leave. They can leave everything out on the floor. And so, and like, I really, really enjoyed getting to work with her in that way and asking her like all the questions I wanted to. And like, she was very supportive of like, this is your Broadway debut, this is awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then I also got to learn it with Renee as Renee was coming in. And so it was like really cool, because she had this like hiatus from her debut to coming back and like fully taking over the role. But then I got to like watch her make it her own. I got to watch her relearn it and figure out what works and what doesn't, and like working with the audience because she's new and she's different. So I feel like if they had a baby, it would be me, because I think like I will never be able to sing like Renee or Taylor. That we have very different instruments. But I can do a conglomerate of like sort of what they both do. And I think like I really ground myself in characters through their acting and not their vocals, because I think at the end of the day, like I can make something sound really beautiful and like really just like pin perfect, like vocally. But if you are not interested in what's behind here or what's happening with my voice,
you don't connect.
You will not care. You will not care, and you will not connect. And especially when you're the standby, when you're the person who like maybe that like those fans, like whoever's in the audience, like there's a fan out there who like is obsessed and loves and wants to come see Renee, and they are like horribly disappointed when they see my name on that board. Like when they're like, oh my gosh, I came to see Renee, or I came to see blah, blah, blah. I want to give them everything I got, everything I have, and I can give to this role. I want to flush it out. And so like, I have spent so much time, thinking about and like really finding where Regina sits in me. And I try my best to not just be a carbon copy of Taylor or Renee. I think I definitely lean more towards Taylor's Regina, just because I think that's like that was like habitually what I learned and what I think I physically learned. And so sometimes like that will never leave your brain, but like I've had like vocal adjustments because of like Renee will like randomly do some kind of riff and I'm like, that's amazing. So I'm going to steal some of that. But yeah, I think my Regina really comes way more from an acting standpoint than vocal. Because I don't know, I think vocally you can always impress people, but like if you can get someone like to go like, ooh, like what a choice, or like, you know, like they like get drawn in more because of like just a facial expression, or like how you like be like how your phrase lands, like how you look at someone, how you like touch another person on stage, how you absorb the space around you. I think it's so much more interesting than just being a voice. So that's what I try to do. And I mean, I know people like don't like that I'm more of a mixer than I'm a belter, but I'm like, I'm hitting the notes. Don't at me.
I mean, you're making it your own. And like, even you mentioned sometimes you like what Renee does, so you like steal some of Renee's riffs. Like I was going to say, even if you do that, you're still unique, because like, you're not going to sound exactly like her still. And that's what makes live theater so unique and special, that like, it's different every night, no matter.
I mean, I can guarantee if anyone is seeing me in the show, it is, my choices will probably be nothing, but I almost want to like not say this because I don't want to like jinx myself. But like, if you're seeing me, I've either been told a week prior and I've been on every single day of the week, or I was literally told like 20 minutes prior. So like what you're getting is going to be very real and authentic, and like I'm going to be riding on my nerves probably.
For your Broadway debut, when were you told that you were going to be
on? Actually, when I booked the standby, they told me you need to be able to go on in 3 weeks because Christina was going on vacation. So, and Ashley, it's like, I think Christina was going on vacation August 13th and Ashley De La Rosa was leaving August 11th. So like I needed to be ready to be able to go on for her vacation. So like I was very lucky in the sense like I knew going in. I was like, I know I'm going on. And also I had been working on the Gretchen material since 2018. Like I had been working those songs for so long. So I felt really comfortable in the material, which was great. I don't know if I would have been as confident if I had to go on for Regina first, because I had never I booked it in July, and that was the first time I ever thought about singing Regina material. Like I had sung World Burn and Someone Gets Hurt as like jokes before because I wanted to see if I could hit the notes. Like truly, I wanted to see if I could stretch my range. And that was literally my only reason why I knew the songs. So I'm very grateful that I got to go on for Gretchen first. So yeah, it was a good debut. I wouldn't change anything. So
do you like remember any of it, or did you kind of black out during it? You were like, what's happening?
I remember the mistakes I made because I was like,
oh, no.
Some of them were big mistakes where I like forgot to stand on the table in whose house. What else did I do? Like I just like I remember little things. But they also, I will never forget sitting on the table, like in her little position, like with her phone and like her hand on Regina. I will never forget the first time, like the second those doors open and you get a da 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 da, and it's like the pink and like all the smoke and like everyone's like, whoa, like, and like Katie's like, whoa, who's at that table? Just get it, like being in that moment where you're just like frozen and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm on Broadway, like I'm like this is it, like I don't just sing first, I'm singing second, like that's coming up, like time is ticking, like I'm sitting here frozen and I have my move and like I have like,
and your heart's probably beating really fast.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever probably been more present in my life than that moment. In like where you really, it's like that moment when you really realize like I'm sitting like right now, like I'm sitting in this chair, this black chair. I'm talking on Zoom. Like I have like this all of a sudden, all the small details, like I'm wearing hoop earrings. I have yellow nail polish that's cracked. Like all of those details become very, very like specific to you. Yeah, and I just will never forget how magical it was and how much like love and support I could feel coming from everyone around me. And I will never forget that feeling because I don't think I've ever been more excited and relieved that it was over. Like after I said my first line, I was fine. I was like, okay, I can do this. Well, I only have 2 more hours. Okay.
And I'm sure people like, the audience, when you mess up and you know you messed up, the audience rarely notices. So yeah. I'm sure you're just tough on yourself during that.
Totally. Yeah.
Probably still are because you all are toughest on yourselves. You're your own worst critic.
Exactly. Yeah.
So kind of, I want to wrap up so you can get to teaching.
Oh, yes.
But what's your favorite Regina song to sing, first of all? Real quick.
Honestly, I've really been loving Someone Gets Hurt lately. I've been teaching that one a lot, and I am remembering like how fun it is to like play with the vocals and like the tactics in that one. Yeah, so that's really, and also like being lifted around is like very fun. So
sometimes on walks I try to pretend that I can like sing, and like I'm like, is anyone around? So I'm like, singing that song is super fun for me.
Yeah,
I try to pretend it sounds good.
Yeah. I think her songs are like such like spectacles. Like, they're so fun. Like you can't help but feel like I will never be Beyonce, but in that moment, I feel like I could be Beyonce. Like when you turn and it's like yes, perfect. And just all the lights and everyone's frozen. You're like, it's me. Like I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a super fun song. Super, super fun.
How do you get into the Regina character? Because I feel like you are so different from her. Do you have a process?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think I watched so much like Gossip Girl growing up. Like I was such a little CW girl. Like I loved watching those shows. I'm so excited for the Gossip Girl reboot. I'm so pumped. But like I watched a lot. I mean, I read about it. I read about like the catty teenage girls. Like I remember the catty teenage girls in my like growing up. And like I was never like, I wouldn't say I actually at one point I definitely was a Gretchen part of my group and there was a Regina in my group. Like I think I can specifically remember moments in my life when I was like, I'm a Gretchen. Like I was a Gretchen. But I really just like, I mean, I think my Regina honestly is like, I would love to consider her a conglomeration of, that's like one of my favorite words, I think, conglomeration of like Blair Waldorf and Serena van der Woodsen, because they're my favorite. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like we need a Serena van der Woodsen and a Blair Waldorf. We need someone who's the in between. I'm like, that's Regina. And so I think like I live out like my Gossip Girl dreams when I play Regina. And so like, I just like really, because I'm not that person. I'm not that person who's that like conniving and manipulative. I'm way too much. Oh my gosh. I'm way too much of a Libra to be able to do that. So just like, yeah, I can't, it's so fun. Like I never get to play mean, like actually mean characters. And, Tina and the whole creative team wrote her so well. She's so funny. And you can be so specific with how she's mean. You don't have to just be like rude mean where it's so obvious, like she's a mean person. But it's like you can really get into like the depths of why someone's mean. And I'm like, I love that. Love that acting. Like,
so
that challenge. Yeah. The challenge is fun.
So besides being in like a Gossip Girl musical, obviously, what would your dream role on stage be?
Tragically, I mean, I don't know if it'll ever come back, but I really, really wanted to, like my college dream was to like be swept away and be in Natasha Pierre in the Great Comet of 1812. I love Natasha. Oh. I love that role. She just like, I mean, Dave Malloy just wrote her to like be on this roller coaster and like, so I love that role. Obviously I'd love to do Eliza in Hamilton someday. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just did this like TikTok cover the other day because I found someone playing it, the Bonnie and Clyde. If there's ever a revival, I'm going in for it. I want to be Bonnie.
You have a cover from Natasha in the on YouTube.
Yes,
right?
I do. Mm-hmm.
I saw it last night.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, fingers crossed that it comes back, so you can be. And I can see Eliza. Yes. So the theater industry is such a hard industry. I feel like the entertainment industry in general, because like you do get told no more than you get told yes. And you have to like keep going back, be determined. How do you work on self-confidence in an industry like this?
I mean, I think the biggest thing you can do is truly, and I say this in like kind of a harsh way, but like get over your perfectionism. If you tend to be that kind of person, I've always been that kind of person. I like my bed straightened and like I like to have like clean corners and even numbers. And, like I like being able, like things to like have an end to it, a period, like punctuation. So like get rid of your perfectionism because you will never be perfect. You'll never be exactly what they want, or like your first choice may not always be what gets you the job or whatever. But like getting rid of and shedding that need to be perfect, to have like the perfectionism is a huge problem, I think, for especially like young adults. Like we want things to work out. We want to make sure we're building a good future for ourselves. We're taking the right steps in the right direction to get towards our goal. We're afraid sometimes to make missteps. So I think that's a big thing. And I think that ties in with self-confidence, because the second you let go of being perfect, you don't care about what others are thinking or how you're doing. And of course you care about like what's happening in your life, but you don't put as much weight into what is happening around you. And the things are external. They don't actually do anything and make you more confident or affect your life. I think self-confidence comes from definitely comes from within, which I think is hard because, like you said, we are our worst critics. We are our worst, honestly, like nightmares in some ways, because we know what can tear us down. Like, we know that like tiny little voice knows exactly what to push, those buttons to push, because it is your inner child, your inner voice, and it knows what can hurt you. And so I think that's what's hard. It's hard to separate yourself from that when you are super like self-deprecating, or let's say if you did like a bad job in an audition, it's really hard to let go of that. But something I've been really trying to embrace is the fact that everything is temporary. And I think that has allowed me to let go a lot about expectations and the idea that we like that, not to say that we deserve anything, but like there's nothing, like all you're doing when you're going to an audition, if you ever feel self-confident, like you have like not a lot of self-confidence that day, or you're feeling kind of like, oh, my voice isn't blah blah blah's voice, or like I don't look like this, like my hair's straight and not curly. If you have those like feelings, it's like you kind of have to think about, one, what would you change if you could, and like would it be worth it? Would that really make you happier? But also, like, I think, I mean, kind of tying back to UC Irvine, something I've been really working on is like working from the inside out. You've been given the gifts and the not problems. You've been given the gifts, and you've been given some like weaknesses in your life, like that. We have to grow from the weaknesses, because we don't feel like we can grow anymore. You probably have shut out a lot of things that you can learn from. So I don't know. I think self-confidence is a hard question. Everyone has different tips and tricks, but I think doing your best to believe in yourself. And if you feel like you can't believe in yourself, figure out like what's something you love. What's something you love about yourself, and like hold on to that. Because at the end of the day, you can be criticizing yourself for all these other things. But you're like, but I love my generosity. I know I'm a kind person. I know I'm blah blah blah. And hold on to those things, because no one can get rid of those. No one can try to shake that out of you. So yeah. That sort of answers the question. That was a very long way around it.
No, I feel like too that like not comparing yourself to others in this industry is also super important to remember, because if you compare yourself to others, you're going to be like, why am I not exactly like this person, and like destroy yourself. You have to be happy with like what you're doing.
And I think like with my Mean Girls experience, I mean, I think I used to laugh about this because I didn't believe it when I was in college, but people are always saying like, your time will come. Like if you really are right for something, your time will come. It might not come in the way you think it's going to, but it will come. And I used to like laugh about that, but like, it really was. I was like, I know I fit in the show. A lot of actors fit in Mean Girls, and the time will come if it is supposed to happen. Like it will. And if it doesn't, that just means you were not supposed to go down that path. You're not supposed to open that door. Something else is on its way. It might take 20 years, who knows, but it's your choice to stay or not. So, yeah.
And you're teaching after this.
Yes.
Can you plug your teaching real quick and your coaching, and where people can book a class with you?
Yes. Okay. So people listening, you can book me for voice lessons, career coaching. I do multiple different packages. I have technically like a 2-lesson, a 3-lesson, and a 4-lesson package and like you get like discounted rates when you plan to do more lessons with me. I like to do more than just one lesson, because then I get to know you better, and I get to actually curate my advice and my tips for you. I'm a huge vocal technique person. How do you sing healthy? How do you keep your voice healthy for 8 shows a week? That's a huge thing for me. And also like storytelling. Like I'm gonna hit you hard, and I want hit you hard. Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible. I'm gonna harp on you making choices. You know, like I want you to leave our lessons with actual tools, and not just a pretty voice. Like I want to help you be more than just a voice. Because if you're just a voice, you're really great for radio or for, like pop music and Hollywood. That's great. But if you want to be a live actor, like you have to do it all. You should. You really want to strive for that. But you can find me on Instagram at Cailen Fu, CAILENFU. And I have my little link tree. You can go my bio, and I have voice lessons, career coaching. Career coaching is basically just walking you through steps that you can basically like, it's like stepping stones, like figure out how can you move forward in the direction that you think you want to go in. And I basically give you advice that I learned in the industry early on. I can give you actual contacts to agencies, to casting, to like audition world. But yeah, that's kind of my career coaching. And then there's so many things, so many booking platforms out there, but I'm on Broadway World Stage Door for video shout outs, master classes with Broadway Plus. But yeah, just follow me on Instagram, find me there, and shoot me a DM. We'll figure it out.
I'll put all the links in the description. It must be so cool to watch people that you teach grow over the week.
It is. It's so fun. I mean, some of the work that my students are doing, it's really awesome. One of my students, she's been auditioning for all of these colleges. So it's been really cool to watch her, like help her like curate her auditions and for like going to college and studying this. So it's been cool.
You're going to be so proud of her when she's like talking about her college experience. Real quick, because I know you have to go. What are you most excited about when live theater can return safely? My first instinct was to see everyone in my community, in like the Broadway theater community, being able to hug people, being able to share and like have an experience with people like doing our show. Just like some kind of like familiarity of like being together in a community. I'm really excited for that. I'm also really excited for like the first time I go back on stage. Like I'm really, really excited about that. So the applause is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on this today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so glad we figured it out.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!